Alright, Owl House fans, we've got a lot to theorize about Ida's estranged father, Dell Clawthorne, now that we've met him in Elsewhere and Elswhen. He had maybe a minute of screen time, but in that time, he dropped some tasty clues about where the show goes from here. You're watching WhitneyVision, and this is part 2 of our breakdown of Elsewhere and Elswhen. This is your spoiler warning! If you haven't seen Season 2, Episode 12 of The Owl House yet, hit pause on this video and come back once you've met the elusive Crab Maiden. Since this video is a tad late, I updated my script to include some more information we learned from the Hollow Mind at the end of the video. That will also have a spoiler warning, so no need to fret if you haven't seen it. Now, on to the Elsewhere and Elswhen theories. For the first time in 20 years, Ida is finally face-to-face with her father again. And despite pulling a bunch of shenanigans to get out of their inevitable heart-to-heart, it's clear that Ida's really been missing her dad. Although she even goes so far as to cosplay her sister just to avoid speaking with him, we saw what her heart truly wanted in one of her dreams in Knock Knock Knockin' on Hootie's door. The moment she sees her dream dad, Ida immediately runs to give him a hug. Subconsciously, Ida has wanted nothing more than to reunite with her dad for the past 2 decades. The shame and fear surrounding the attack that wounded him prevented her from reaching out. Dell reveals, however, that he's been trying to get back in contact with her for all these years, and Ida admits that her guilt and embarrassment held her back from rekindling their relationship. But their conversation reveals more than just their emotional growth. As Ida reconnects with her dad, we learn a lot of interesting details about Ida's dad's side of the family. It turns out that the Clawthorne family has a long ancestral history of expertly carving Palismen, and prior to the attack, Dell was one of the best carvers of his descendants. Which adds another item to the list of reasons Ida must be feeling guilty about maiming him. Not only did she scar her father, this might have been a contributing cause to the Palismen shortage on the Isles. In Dell's first appearance on the show via a flashback, we learned that he was on his way to the mandible of the Titan, and that he'd be away from his family for quite some time. Obviously, he wasn't able to go, but I wonder what the purpose of his journey was. What's going on at the jaw of the Titan that would keep Dell away from his family for a while? The simple answer is, maybe that's where the Palismen wood forests are located, and Dell was on a mission to gather more for carving. Maybe he and the Bonesborough Garden Club were gathering more samples, planting more seeds, or otherwise tending to the forest itself. But something Lilith said in this episode got me thinking about an alternate theory. According to Lilith, the skull of the Titan is sacred ground, implying that hardly anyone, if anyone at all, is even allowed to go there. Did Dell have permission to be at the mandible, or did he go rogue? We also learned in Hunting Palismen that, before Palismen wood became scarce in the recent years, teenagers at the various schools on the Boiling Isles would carve their Palismen as a rite of passage. Assuming that this has been a tradition in the witching world for quite some time, who exactly are the Clawthornes carving these Palismen for? Again, there's a simple answer. Maybe the Clawthorne family had a business carving Palismen for witches who lack hand-eye coordination, or those who lost their original Palismen, or witches who were absent the day when everyone was carving them at school. Maybe they even provided guidance in carving the Palismen wood, like freelance woodshop teachers. But what if there's a more sinister answer? This is a wild theory, but what if the Clawthorne family, for hundreds of years, has been in the business of supplying Emperor Bellos with his Palismen cocktails? Hear me out. Bellos has been drinking Palismen in larger and larger doses to keep himself alive. We know that he's definitely been stealing Palismen from unsuspecting sacrifices like Blue Fang, and based on the quantity littering the floor of his lair in the Deadwardian era, it's safe to say that he's either robbed a lot of witches, learned to make his own, or a combination of the two. Over the last 400 years, he must have consumed thousands and thousands of Palismen, and he had to get those Palismen somewhere, all the while establishing himself as emperor, eliminating wild magic, and setting up his chess pieces for the Day of Unity. There is no way that he carved or stole every single Palismen over the years. So what if the Clawthorne bloodline begrudgingly carved Palismen for Bellos as a means to keep him satiated and prevent him from dipping into the public supply of Palismen? If the Clawthornes made a pact with Bellos, then it's possible that their expert knowledge of Palismen wood, or Bellos' condition, kept Bellos on a somewhat sustainable diet of Palismen. Perhaps what made Dell and the Clawthornes line so great at carving Palismen wasn't their attention to carving details in wooden animals, but the magical fuel efficiency or potency of each staff. We're talking complex magic systems here, so it's entirely possible that the magical energy signatures from Palismen to Palismen varies depending on techniques used to carve them. Going a step further, it could be possible that the Clawthornes knew how to tailor Palismen wood specifically for Bellos' condition, keeping him nutritionally satisfied for centuries. But when this bespoke Palismen subscription service abruptly ended, Bellos' hunger was left unchecked, causing him to seek out Palismen of all shapes and sizes, and potentially making his condition more ravenous. Think of it like the Clawthornes were the sole providers of electric cars, and when they stopped production, Bellos was forced to turn to diesel and his consumption rate collapsed the environment. This could explain why Dell was given permission to access the mandible of the Titan, despite it being part of the sacred Titan's skull. And now that Dell is unable to use his left hand for fine detailed carving, his new passion towards helping the Bat Queen replenish her Palismen forest could be an attempt at righting the wrongs of himself and his ancestors. At the end of Elsewhere and Elsewhen, Dell hands Ida a Palismen seed, symbolizing his forgiveness towards Ida and their renewed relationship. Perhaps this is also a symbol for the Clawthorns themselves, as Dell hopes to leave the past behind and put his energy into cultivating a verdant future for the Isles. But don't worry, this is totally just a dark theory. In reality, the complete opposite could be true. The Clawthorne family could be well renowned throughout history for their constant dedication to preserving and protecting Palismen wood, and his journey to the Mandible could have been part of his work gathering, planting, and defending this precious resource. Perhaps he's been working with the Bat Queen for years, and that's one of the many reasons why she trusts Ida so much. Plus, I really hope that the man who helped carve Albert doesn't turn out to be a bad guy. Just look at that cute little buddy! Another interesting fact about Dell is that he was the previous owner of the tower connected to the Owl House. Let me remind you that Ida has a framed photo of the tower standing alone beneath an eclipse, Sans Owl House. This gives some context to Hooty exclaiming to Ida his opinion on Dell, implying that they've just met for the first time. This tells me that Ida either built the house or found magical means to nestle itself beside Dell's tower. Season 1's Hooty's Moving Hassle did show us that the house can move, at least while under the effects of a moonlight conjuring. Anyway, it's clear that Hooty wasn't there when Dell was using the space. Hooty wasn't Ida's only weird upgrade to her dad's former hang spot, however. Besides the obvious cobbled together look of the Owl House that shows us that multiple pieces of different structures were stuck together to create it, we also know from this photo that Ida repurposed the stained glass eye-shaped window from the tower, and you can even see the divot where it used to be in present day. But if Ida took the windows from the tower and installed them in her new place, it stands to reason that she may have repurposed other aspects of the original structure. Namely, that ancient mural seen in the foyer of the Owl House in the very first episode of the series. What if Ida also borrowed that from the tower and set it up in her new digs? It would be very, very interesting if that mural was tied to the Clawthorne family lineage in some way, because in the beginning of this episode, it's revealed in a very cinematic way that makes it seem like foreshadowing for Philip Whittabane's plans. Right before the Echo Mouse stops the recording, Whittabane outlines how he must seek out the Collector to receive the final bit of guidance to complete his plans. Whittabane cuts out as he says, "But first, my companions and I must face." As the Echo Mouse hologram blackens and singes, the mural is revealed. Now, based on the episode, we know that he was likely just foreshadowing Luz's showdown with the Stone Sleeper, but I don't think it's merely coincidental that the mural is shown here. In fact, I think that the Stone Sleeper might be a red herring to what Philip was referring to. What if Philip's companions aren't Luz and Lilith, but Belos's coven heads or the Collector? And what if what he has to face in order to achieve his goals isn't the Stone Sleeper, but the being depicted in the mural? Is it some sort of prophecy? A lot of people around the internet have dubbed this carving the Owl Deity, and I think that giving the carving that sort of mythic significance is the correct reading. I have a feeling that this owl-like being is some type of guardian of the realm, and will play a key role in preventing the Day of Unity from destroying everything we know and love about the Boiling Isles. But going a step farther, I want to draw your attention to the eye window that Ida moved to the house. It's reminiscent of the owl deity, right? Could this be depicting some sort of final perfected super form of the Owl House? Is the whole name of the show a clever hint that the house itself is a secret weapon? That eye also looks like the portal door, which, curiously enough, Ida found buried in the woods near her family's home. Also, side quest, in Slavic folklore there's a witch known as Baba Yaga, and she herself has a hut that walks on chicken legs. I actually found a modern depiction in a D&D manual and did some digging into it. Apparently, the dancing hut of Baba Yaga can move across dimensions and universes. How interesting. So, if that mural, the eye window, and possibly the portal door have all been around for centuries, they could have been passed down from generation to generation of Palismen carvers along with the tower. Belos has been plotting the Day of Unity for a long time. Could the Clawthorns be a secret line of protectors passing on the tradition of carving and cultivating Palismen wood, while also sharing a guarded secret of the owl deity that could save the Isles? I know a lot of speculation exists about the Bat Queen being the Titan's Palismen, but with all of the Palismen connections to the Clawthorns, part of me is wondering if the Owl House itself is a recreation of the Titan's Palismen. Either way, I have a feeling that Ida has been unknowingly assembling the pieces to bring back this creature. Switching gears, I want to talk about Dell's Palismen, a yellow cardinal. But first, here's another spoiler warning. This section of the video is going to talk about information we learned in Hollow Mind, so if you haven't seen that episode yet, come back once you've seen it. Now, it's interesting that Dell's bird is the second cardinal Palisman we've seen, with Hunter's adopted Palisman Flapjack being the first. It should also be interesting to viewers that Hunter and Dell have very similar noses, which leads me to believe that the two might be related. Actually, I'm pretty certain at this point thanks to the background portraits in Hollow Mind suggesting that Hunter's quartet fell in love with a witch. Back when the Golden Guard was first seen at the start of the season, we theorized that he might be a lost relative to Ida based on their mannerisms, particularly how they say bye. Also, side quest, I totally called that Hunter was a clone from the jump. By Titan, it feels good to nail a theory. Based on Hunter's parallels with Dell, I think it's safe to say that Hunter is sorta technically Ida's biological great-great-great-great-great-great-grandfather. That original might have even been the human that Dell Clawthorne was referring to when she said she heard stories of a human coming to the Boiling Isles. It wasn't Philip, but someone on Dell's family tree. If this is true and Ida and Belos are distantly related, it certainly gives the series a Shakespearean epic quality. This builds on the poetic nature of Ida and Belos being two parallel foils. Both are cursed, both are mentors to students of magic without bile sacs, and they are the separate sides of the wild magic and coven magic coin. This to me is all more evidence that whatever secrets Dell and the Clawthorns have been passing down will be exactly the means to stop Belos. It won't just be the bad girl coven stopping Belos, but the direct comeuppance for his mortal sin of betraying his own brother. Not to say that Belos doesn't have a closet full of mortal sins. He is low-key the most vile and conniving villain in Disney history. Thanks for sticking around for this video. I know I'm behind a few weeks and some of the theories in this video are slightly dated, but I really appreciate you all watching and supporting us. Stay tuned to WhitneyVision, as I'll be catching up on breakdowns and theories over the next couple days and weeks. If you want to help support us, please be sure to comment your own theories as to Dell's role in helping the Bad Girl Coven, and share this video. I'm Scarlet Wit, and you're watching WhitneyVision.